My name is Lena, and I am 20 years old. Today, I want to share a very personal story with you. This is the story of my first night as a married woman, a night that changed my life forever. When people imagine a wedding night, they think of flowers, soft lights, and gentle music. They imagine two people smiling, excited to begin a new life together. That was the dream every girl in my town believed in. But my night was nothing like that dream. The white bed felt cold and lifeless to me, not loving or warm. Instead of romance, I felt fear, as if I was standing at the end of my freedom. The man in the room did not feel like a partner. In my heart, he felt like someone who owned me. People always said marriage is where a woman's life begins, but that night, I felt the opposite. My hands were shaking, and my heart was beating wildly. I felt trapped in a room with a man I barely knew, a man everyone feared. They said he was cruel, emotionless, and dangerous, and I believed every word. But I was wrong. What happened that night changed how I saw men and love forever. To understand why, I must take you back to where everything truly began. 2 weeks before the wedding, in the year 1974, I was just a simple girl. I worked in a small bookshop, loved reading stories, and enjoyed quiet evenings with tea. I had dreams of travel, of seeing the ocean, and of falling in love naturally. One evening, I came home from work, and the house was too quiet. In the kitchen, the smell of old coffee and smoke filled the air. My father was sitting at the table, crying, something I had never seen before. He told me he had gambled and lost everything, the money, the store, even our house. That house was all we had left from my mother, and hearing this broke my heart. The debt was so large that we could never repay it in our lifetime. Then my father told me about a man named Edward Blackwood. Everyone in town knew him, rich, powerful, and feared. My father said Edward had paid the debt, but he wanted something in return. When my father said Edward wanted me as his wife, my world stopped. I felt sold, like an object, not a daughter. But when I looked at my mother's picture, I knew I couldn't abandon my father. That night, I said goodbye to the girl I used to be. I chose sacrifice over escape. I agreed to marry a man I believed was a monster. The wedding day came too fast on a hot July afternoon. The church was filled with wealthy strangers smiling and celebrating. They called me lucky, but they could not see the fear in my eyes. Before the ceremony, Edward's mother gave me a heavy gold necklace. She said it was a family tradition and locked it around my neck. It felt cold, painful, and more like a chain than jewelry. When I walked down the aisle, Edward stood waiting. He was tall, serious, and did not smile. His vows sounded empty, like a business agreement. That night, we rode to his large house in complete silence. The home felt cold and echoing, more like a castle than a place of love. When we entered the bedroom, he locked the door and fear rushed through me. Edward removed his jacket and loosened his tie. I pressed myself against the wall, unable to breathe. The necklace hurt my neck, and I closed my eyes, waiting for pain. Then I heard his gentle voice say my name. Instead of touching me, his hands reached for the necklace. He carefully removed it and said it was hurting my skin. When I asked why he was being kind, he looked shocked. He explained that he never bought me and never wanted to own me. My father had saved Edward's father during the war, and this was his way of helping. The marriage was never his demand. It was my father's pride. Suddenly, the monster in my mind disappeared. In front of me was only a lonely, misunderstood man. My stomach growled, breaking the silence. Edward smiled and returned with simple food, bread, cheese, and milk. We sat on the floor, talked, laughed, and shared our fears. That night, he slept on the sofa and gave me the bed. He promised he would never touch me until I felt ready. For the first time in weeks, I felt safe. That night, I did not feel passion or desire. I felt respect, kindness, and safety. Those things mattered more than anything else. Edward and I have been married for 50 years now. He is still afraid of insects, and he is still my best friend. That first night was the moment I truly fell in love. True love does not control or rush. It listens, protects, and waits. Sometimes, true love begins with simple food and an honest promise. My name is Lena, and this was my story. Thank you for listening, and remember, love should always feel safe.